I'm sitting on the edge of my bed tonight, the mattress sagging under the weight of 62 years. The room smells of linseed oil and old books, a mix that's clung to this house since Margaret and I bought it 4 decades ago. My fingers trace the worn leather of her old Bible, its pages yellowed, her notes in the margins faded but still legible. It's been 8 years since cancer took her, and the silence she left behind is louder than any sound I've ever known. I'm telling you this story because it's time to unburden my heart, to let you see the scars of a life lived with love, betrayal, and a kind of revenge that doesn't heal but haunts. It's a tale of a father who fought for his daughter, only to learn that some battles leave you emptier than when you started. My name is Henry Walsh, and this is how I faced the man who tried to erase me. 3 months ago, I was in my shed, a small sanctuary behind our clapboard house in Syracuse. The air was thick with the scent of pine and lacquer, my hands busy carving a rocking horse for my grandson, Tommy, who'd just turned 3. The radio played soft jazz, a habit I picked up from Margaret, who'd sway to it while cooking dinner. I was lost in the rhythm of the chisel when my phone buzzed on the workbench. I wiped my hands on my apron, expecting a spam call, but the name on the screen stopped me cold. Clara. Clara, my daughter, my only child. We hadn't spoken in months, not since she moved to Manhattan with her fiancé, Edward Crave. The last time I saw her was at Tommy's birthday, a strained afternoon where Edward's polished smile barely hid his disdain for my simple life. I answered, my voice rough from disuse. Clara, everything all right, Dad, she said, her voice bright but brittle, like glass about to crack. I've got news. Edward and I are getting married. Next month, at his family's estate in the Hamptons. I want you there, Dad. Please. The words hit like a wave, warm and cold at once. Married. My little girl, who used to braid wildflowers into crowns, was building a life I barely understood. Of course, sweetheart, I said, my throat tight. Wouldn't miss it. Great, she said, relief flooding her voice. It's formal, though. Edward's family, they're particular. I'll send you the details. Formal, particular, code for a world where a retired carpenter like me didn't belong. I hung up, staring at the half-finished rocking horse, its wooden eyes blank but accusing. I thought of Margaret, her laughter, her unwavering belief in family. Henry, you hold tight to Clara, no matter what, she'd said when Clara was a teenager, rebellious and distant. I'd promised her I would. But promises are fragile things, easily shattered by time and pride. The Hamptons estate was a world away from Syracuse. Acres of manicured lawn, a mansion that gleamed like it was carved from ivory, and a driveway lined with cars that cost more than my house. I'd driven down in my old Ford pickup, the engine coughing like it resented the journey. My suit, a Navy relic from Margaret's funeral, felt tight across my shoulders, the cuffs frayed but hidden under my sleeves. I carried a small box, wrapped in plain brown paper, a locket Margaret had worn on our wedding day, meant for Clara to wear on hers. Edward greeted me at the door, his handshake firm but brief, his eyes scanning my suit like it was an insult. Henry, he said, his voice smooth as polished stone. Good of you to come. Clara's inside, getting ready. Clara appeared, her dress a cascade of white lace, her smile as bright as I remembered from her childhood. Dad, she hugged me, her perfume sharp and unfamiliar. You look great. I handed her the box. Your mother's locket. Thought it might mean something to you today. Her eyes softened as she opened it, the silver locket catching the chandelier's light. Oh, Dad, it's perfect. But Edward's glance was dismissive, his lips curling slightly. Charming, he said. Very sentimental. The word stung, but I let it pass. We moved to the dining room, a space that felt more like a cathedral than a home. Marble floors, crystal glasses, a table set for 50. Edward's family and friends filled the room, their voices a low hum of wealth and influence. I took the seat Clara pointed to, next to a cousin who barely acknowledged me. The conversation swirled around me, mergers, yachts, summer homes in Tuscany. I sipped my water, feeling like a ghost at my own daughter's wedding. Edward stood, tapping his glass for attention. A toast, he said, his smile practiced. To Clara, the love of my life, and to the future we'll build together. Applause followed, but his eyes found mine, cold and deliberate. And to family, of course, those who belong here, and those who support us from afar. The room didn't notice the barb, but Clara did. Her hand tightened on her napkin, her eyes darting to me. I kept my face neutral, years of carpentry teaching me to hide pain behind steady hands. But inside, I felt the old wounds reopen. Margaret's death, Clara's drift into Edward's world, the sense that I was losing her to a man who saw me as less than nothing. After dinner, Edward pulled me aside, leading me to a study that smelled of leather and cigar smoke. The walls were lined with books I doubted he'd read, their spines too perfect, too untouched. He closed the door, his smile gone. Henry, let's be frank. This wedding is a big deal. Senators, CEOs, people who shape the world. Clara's stepping into that world now, and I need to protect her image. My chest tightened. Protect her from what? From complications, he said, his voice smooth but sharp. You're a carpenter, Henry. A good one, I'm sure. But my guests, they expect a certain caliber. Your presence, it's awkward. I'd rather you didn't attend the ceremony tomorrow. The words landed like a sledgehammer. I stood there, my hands clenched, the locket's weight still lingering in my palms. She's my daughter, I said, my voice low. I raised her. I paid for her college, her first car, her dreams. You don't get to erase me. I'm not erasing you, he said, his tone patronizing. I'm curating. This is about Clara's future, not your feelings. You can watch from the sidelines, quietly, maybe help in the kitchen. But the ceremony, the reception, that's for people who matter. I wanted to hit him, to break that smug jaw, but Margaret's voice stopped me. Henry, don't let anger win. Fight smart. I turned and left, the door closing softly behind me. Clara was waiting in the hall, her eyes red. Dad, what did he say? Nothing worth repeating, I said, kissing her forehead. I'll be here tomorrow, sweetheart. I promise. I drove to a motel nearby, the kind with flickering neon and thin walls. My room smelled of stale smoke, but it was better than Edward's sterile mansion. I sat on the bed, Margaret's Bible in my hands, her handwriting a lifeline. Love endures all things. But did it? Could it endure a man like Edward, who saw family as a liability? Sleep didn't come. My mind churned, replaying Edward's words, Clara's tears, the life I'd built with Margaret. I'd been a carpenter for 40 years, shaping wood into homes, furniture, lives. But before that, I'd been someone else, a soldier, a paratrooper in Vietnam, a man who'd jumped into jungles with nothing but a rifle and courage. I'd left that life behind for Clara, for Margaret, trading medals for sawdust. But Edward didn't know that. He saw a tired old man, not a warrior. By dawn, I had a plan. Edward wanted me invisible. I'd use that. I called my old friend Sam, who ran a catering company in the city. We'd served together in '68, saved each other's lives more than once. Sam, I said when he picked up, I need a favor. Can you get me on the crew for a wedding in the Hamptons tomorrow? Sam laughed, his voice gravelly from years of cigarettes. Henry Walsh, working a wedding. What's the catch? My daughter's marrying a bastard who doesn't want me there. I need to be close, Sam. Invisible, but close. He didn't hesitate. Done. Be at the estate by 10 a.m. Black pants, white shirt. You'll blend in with the staff. I hung up, my hands steady for the first time in days. I pulled my old uniform from the closet, not the army greens, but the black and white catering outfit I'd worn for odd jobs after the war. It still fit, a little snug, but a reminder of who I'd been, a man who could disappear into a role and still get the job done. The estate was transformed by morning. White tents, roses everywhere, a string quartet playing something soft and expensive. I arrived early, blending into Sam's crew, my tray of champagne flutes a shield. The other servers didn't question me. I moved with the ease of experience, my face a mask of professional calm. Guests arrived in waves. Men in tailored tuxedos, women in dresses that shimmered like liquid gold. They didn't see me, just as Edward wanted. Clara was radiant, her locket gleaming at her throat as she greeted guests. Edward stood beside her, his smile perfect, his eyes scanning the crowd for anyone who mattered. He didn't notice me, not at first. I was just another waiter, invisible in my black vest, refilling glasses with practiced grace. But then, during the cocktail hour, Edward's gaze landed on me. His smile faltered, his jaw tightening. He crossed the lawn, his steps sharp, and pulled me aside near a rose trellis. "What the hell are you doing here, Henry?" he hissed, his voice low to avoid a scene. "Working," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "You said I could help in the kitchen. This isn't what I meant, and you know it." His eyes blazed, but he kept his voice down, aware of the guests nearby. "You're embarrassing, Clara. Leave, or I'll have security throw you out." I met his gaze, unyielding. "Try it, Edward. See how that looks to your senator friends." He froze, his control slipping. Before he could respond, a guest called for more champagne, and I moved away, my tray steady. But my heart was racing. This wasn't over. The ceremony was flawless, Clara walking down the aisle like a vision, the locket catching the sunlight. I watched from the back, hidden among the staff, my chest aching with pride and pain. She deserved this moment, but I deserved to be part of it, not as a waiter, but as her father. At the reception, I served with quiet efficiency, my eyes on Edward. He was in his element, charming guests, toasting to the future. But his glances kept finding me, each one sharper than the last. During the toasts, he stood, his voice carrying over the crowd. "To Clara, my partner in this new chapter, and to those who've supported us, who understand the importance of this moment." The words were vague, but I felt their sting. He was rewriting me out of her story. I poured champagne, my hands steady, but inside, I was burning. Margaret's voice echoed, "Fight smart, Henry." I'd waited long enough. As the band played, a guest near the bar, a man in his 70s, with a military bearing, paused, staring at me. "You look familiar," he said, his voice curious. "Ever serve in the 101st Airborne?" I hesitated, then nodded. "A long time ago. Vietnam." His eyes widened. "Henry Walsh, paratrooper, Silver Star. I saw your name in a documentary last month, Heroes of Khe-San." Heads turned, murmurs spreading. I kept my face neutral, but the guest's voice carried. "Folks, we've got a war hero serving our drinks. Henry Walsh saved his platoon under fire in '68. You don't forget a face like that." The room shifted, guests whispering, phones emerging to search my name. Edward's face paled, his glass trembling in his hand. Clara's eyes found mine, wide with shock and dawning pride. I set down my tray, my hands no longer shaking. "It was a long time ago," I said, my voice calm but clear. "I don't talk about it much. I came here for my daughter, not for medals." The applause started slowly, then grew, a wave of respect that drowned out Edward's control. Clara crossed the room, tears in her eyes, and hugged me, her locket pressing against my chest. "Dad, why didn't you tell me?" "Because you're my hero, sweetheart," I said, my voice breaking. "Always have been." Edward stood frozen, his world unraveling. The guests he'd courted now saw him for what he was, a man who'd tried to erase a father's love for the sake of appearances. He approached, his voice low. "Henry, I didn't know." "You didn't want to know," I said, meeting his eyes. "You saw a carpenter, not a man. But I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere." The reception continued, but the air had changed. Guests sought me out, shaking my hand, sharing stories of their own fathers, their own sacrifices. Edward tried to regain control, his toasts weaker now, his charm hollow. Clara stayed by my side, her hand in mine, her locket a bridge between past and present. Later, in a quiet corner, Edward approached again. I was wrong, he said, his voice raw. I thought I was protecting Clara, but I was protecting myself. Can we start over? I studied him, seeing the cracks in his armor. Margaret's voice whispered, love endures. But so did truth. That's up to Clara, I said. But if you ever try to push me out again, you'll lose more than a wedding. He nodded, his eyes downcast, and walked away. Clara hugged me again, her tears soaking my shirt. I love you, Dad. I'm so proud. We danced, father and daughter, under the Hampton stars, the music soft and forgiving. I was no longer invisible, no longer just a carpenter. I was Henry Walsh, a man who'd fought for his daughter, not with fists but with presence, with love. Back in Syracuse, I sit with Margaret's Bible, her words guiding me still. Clara calls every week now, her voice brighter, her life finding balance. Edward's learning, slowly, what family means. I'm back in my shed, carving, building, living. The rocking horse is finished, waiting for Tommy's next visit. I've found peace, not in revenge, but in standing tall. If this story moved you, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more tales of love and redemption. In the comments, tell me, what would you sacrifice for family? Thank you for listening.